Hello everybody, welcome on in. My name is Brian, and I'm here for some Thursday evening mathematics. Hope you're all doing well. I've had another crazy long day, but it's been a good day. We got a lot of marking done for the Euclid math contest at U Waterloo. And then a couple meetings this afternoon. They went pretty well. So overall, it's been a good day. So I figured today I'm going to try to finish off question number 9. So question number 9 from the 2019 Euclid contest. So we answered A, we answered B, we were happy with those. We attempted C in a couple of different ways, but we couldn't quite pull out a solution, and it turned out that they solved that using the quadratic formula, which was kind of interesting. And so the last part of question 9 here is to determine 4 pairs of positive integers where B has to be strictly bigger than A and A has to be strictly bigger than 2. So all of the solutions that they've given to us do not apply, which is unfortunate. We have to go on a little bit of a hunt here for some of the stuff that we want. It was really crazy, wasn't it? I figured that I wasn't that surprised that they did proof by contradiction, because usually a lot of number theory stuff is like that, but the fact that we had to go through, it wasn't as simple as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like an even-odd argument, or like a modulo arithmetic argument, like A divides this, therefore A has to divide some other stuff, but it was a little bit more complicated than... You had to factor some crazy difference of squares inside the quadratic formula to be able to understand that this thing was not a divisor of 3. It was a lot more intense than I thought it was going to be. So the question now is, can we put everything together and actually find some numbers that satisfy some of the conditions? I'm hoping that knowing C's answer is going to help us determine D, right? We know exactly what that integer is going to look like. It's going to be 3, 6, 9. So in other words, we should be able to take A over B plus B over A plus 1 over AB, and we're looking for... A and B have to be positive integers anyway, but we're looking, for example, we're maybe, we could probably start where this is equal to 3, right? This is probably a good place to start. 3 is a multiple of 3, right? And so we could probably start here. Although it might be... It'd be nice to have another equation that we could make a substitution for, though. Oh well, let's see what happens. So when we simplify this, we got something like a squared plus b squared plus 1 over ab. And so we're kind of going to be trying to solve this. We're going to be trying to solve a squared plus b squared plus 1 is equal to 3ab. So this is just, I'm just guessing. We're just going to try 3. And if 3 doesn't work, we'll try 6. Eder, hello, welcome on in. How you doing? We are trying to finish up question 9 of the Euclid contest tonight. We're going to try to find some pairs of positive integers with some restrictions, solving the equation up above. And we do know, we weren't able to actually prove this yesterday, but we do know that f of ab, when it's an integer, when the output is an integer from this multivariable function, it will be a multiple of 3. So my thought to start the problem was, why don't we set f of ab equal to 3? And that's going to give us maybe a place to start. So we need 3ab to be 1 more than the sum of two square numbers. But I'm wondering if there's another... And what's up? Okay, so let's also take a look and remind ourselves of what solutions we have. So they've given us that 1, 2 is a solution, 2, 5 is a solution, and we also know that 1, 1 is a solution, but I have a feeling that's the trivial solution, so I'm not really going to think about that one too hard. So 1, 2 goes and 2, 5. 1, 2, 2, 5. And I think what else did we learn from part C? We learned that both can't be even, right? Because if both of them were even, then we'd have this weird kind of 1/4 thing happening, so... What is this? I'm reminded of the technique of Vieta flipping. This sounds interesting. Known as root flipping, is a proof technique most often used for problems in which a relation between two integers is given, along with a statement to prove about solutions. This looks like it has potential, right? So let A and B be... A and B divides it. Show that this is a square integer. Interesting. Interesting. This certainly feels like it could apply to this problem. Absolutely. Huh. So it says fix some value k that is a non-square. Oh, this is a specific example, though. So the general thing is to assume toward a contradiction. Interesting, interesting. Whoa, whoa! It actually has the example. Let a and b be positive integers such that ab divides a squared plus b squared plus 1. Prove that 3ab equals a squared plus b squared plus 1. That's so weird. It actually has the actual example on Wikipedia. That's so funny. So wait, one root... Okay, maybe we have to look at the roots of the quadratic form that they gave us in the solution. So by Vieta's formulas, the other root may be written as kb minus a. Oh, that's interesting. We know that k, well, if we're going to try 3, we know k is equal to 3 in this case. So Vieta's formula says that the second root, in our case, would be 3b minus a. So how do we use that to... That's crazy. Did you see are you reading the same example as I am, Loims? Like, it's literally the exact same example that we've been working on for 3 days. What the heck? Oh, I guess that's another option. They give an interesting option in part 4 of that example. You could fix a number too, right? So we could probably fix a to be 3, for example, and see if we can find solutions for b. Huh. So can we use that root to help us? So that's my question. If we know the first root is... Maybe we should solve this quadratic formula. Maybe we should solve the quadratic formula again and make sure we understand what the two roots are, and maybe we can use that to help us. So what would it look like? If we took this expression where we just kind of plugged in k is equal to 3, we'd have something like a squared minus 3ba plus our b squared plus 1 is equal to 0. So if I wanted to solve for a, I could apply the quadratic formula. You could take negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c under our root, all over 2a. It's more that we know the roots have to add to the roots. Oh, I got you. So rather than actually applying the square root formula, we have some information about how they work. Right. Okay. So how does this work again? That x1 and x2, if they're roots, should multiply to b squared plus 1, and x1 and x2 added together should give us negative 3b. Is that how it works? Have to add to 3b. Yeah, they have to add up. Okay, they have to add up to give us that. Wait, isn't it negative 3b? So any a solving this equation, oh, I see. So if we kind of think about this as a or whatever, that's how they get x2 should be equal to 3b minus some other root. So, okay, so you find a solution. So you suppose that a is a solution or whatever, right? And then you can get the second solution by doing something like that. Okay. So that's where that comes from. So this is if a is a solution, then it should be that 3b minus a is a solution. Is that true? If a is a solution, then 3b minus a is also a solution? Really? Okay. Is that true? I'm going off on the tangent here because I just have to prove something to myself. So let's consider this equation. Let's consider the equation where I sub in the other thing that I think is a solution, and I get this. That would give me, what, 9b squared minus 6ab's plus a squared minus 9b squares plus 3ab plus b squared plus 1, right? I guess I should probably not assume that it's equal to 0. Okay, so the 9b squareds cancel. And what do we have left over? We have a squared minus 3ab plus b squared plus 1. Wow, but we already know that a is a solution. So we know that this is equal to 0. That's fucking cool. Okay. So if a is a solution, we can find another solution by taking 3b minus a. What? That's so weird. That's so crazy. We have a couple solutions though, don't we? But a has to be bigger than... a has to be bigger than 2 though. I guess we could start with the 2, 5. Okay, well, let's see. And these solutions should give us an integer number of 3, I suspect, because that's what we assumed, right? That's really interesting. I don't know how a grade 12 would know this particular strategy, but... I mean, I certainly did not know this strategy. Okay, so let's take a look. So we know that f of 2, 5 is a solution, right? It gives us 3. It's a solution to our original problem. Here, a is equal to 2, b is equal to 5. So I suspect that, what is it? 3b minus a. What is that? 3b minus a should be another possible value of a. So 15 minus 2. So a equals 13 should be another possibility. So we could try this. We could take, I suppose we could take 1, 2. And we know here a is 1 and b is 2. So 3b minus a is 3b. So 3 times 2 is 6 minus 1. So 5 should be a possible value for a as well. So this gives us at least a couple of stepping stones to move forward, right? And if I know that these a's should work, we should be able to solve for b. Does 513 work? Does 513 work? Let's see. Let's substitute in a is equal to 5. So that should give us 5 squared plus b squared plus 1 minus 3 times 5 times b. We know that this is equal to 3. What? I have to solve a quadratic equation? I don't want to do that. Oh, I guess we only have to solve 2 of them, and hopefully they're factorable. So 26 minus 3 is 23? That seems odd. Oh, right. Thank you. Yes, I'm working with the altered one, aren't I? So this is a over b plus b over a plus 1 over ab. And this should be equal to 3. That's correct. Okay. Although I suspect that shouldn't this simplify to be... Shouldn't this simplify to be the same thing that I just had? Because I need to find a common denominator, so 25 over 5b plus b squared over 5b plus 1 over 5b. Isn't this the same thing? It's the same thing. Y'all harassing me. I see. My algebra would have came out wrong because I think I had an extra 3 or something, didn't I? Somewhere in there. Okay, so it did matter. Is this... Yeah, this is just 13 and 2, right? Yeah. So 13 and 2. Now, I think that only one of them is going to work for what we want, so we need the pair 5, 13 as one of our options. The one, you know, the 5, 2, it works, and we know that it works because 2, 5 works, and we know that there's like, you know, you can switch the numbers around, and that one's going to work as well. We did see that yesterday. But this one's not going to solve, or this one's not going to be permitted due to the parameters that we have. We need B to be strictly bigger than A and A to be strictly bigger than 2. But at least we got one. We got one that we needed. So that should be a solution for 5. We should be able to find a solution similarly for 13 then as well, right? We should be able to go something like 5, 13, comma B. And go 13 over B plus B over 13. Plus 1 over 13b, and set this equal to 3. So is 13 times, that's 169, right? Plus b squared plus 1, and 13 times 3 will be 39 b's. So we need b squared minus 39 b's plus 170. And again, if we've done this properly, we should be able to factor this. Yeah, if AB is a solution... Oh, I see. So you're thinking about the restriction a little bit more. So you're being a bit clever about... Because 3B minus A... since B is bigger, should be larger than just B by itself. Okay, so if you know that A is a solution, you can stuff 3B minus A, okay, into the second part, and that'll make life a little bit easier, won't it? So, I mean, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but let's see, 39. What do I need to add to 39? 10 and 17 don't quite fit the middle here. Yeah, exactly. If B is fixed, you know that the roots are going to be A and 3B minus A. Yeah, I totally agree. And then because of the mirror image, or I guess it's symmetry, right? In this particular question, there's nice symmetry, so you can swap the A's and B's around. So yeah, that's why 2, 5 works, because you can just kind of swap those roots around. Okay, I'm failing miserably at paying attention. 5 and 2, so we need 17 times 2, which is 34. And B minus 5, right? So 13 and 34 should work. Okay, let's see if I can follow this logic. So yeah, you can do this without... I was hoping that I'd only have to solve 2 quadratics. Yes, so let's see if I can make sense of this. So you can do this without solving any more quadratics. We know 5, 13 is a solution. So 13, 34 is a solution. 34... Oh, okay, yeah, so you can swap... So now we can swap the B value over to here. We can go 3B minus A to get the next one. I gotcha. So 34 times 3 minus... What was... Is it 13 here? Yeah, 89 should be the next one. And then the last one will be 89, comma, 3B, so 89 times 3 minus 34, 233. So those are 4 possibilities. All of these should have a sum of 3. Cool. That's a really cool technique. It's a little confusing, I'm not gonna lie, but it is really, really interesting. So let's have a peek. And number 9. Number 9D. Ah, here they go. So they show that f of b comma 3d minus a, oh, minus 3. Oh, because that's the number they fixed. So they show that this is all equal to 0. Okay, so if this, yeah, then this, right. So if you can find one solution, then you know the next solution should work as well. So they start with 1, 2, that gives them the solution 2, 5. 2, 5 gives the solution 5, 13. So we got all the way up to the 89, 2, 33. Cool. That is really, really interesting. I'm curious about their solution number 2. So solution 2 says, since the function is symmetric in A and B, which is something that we noticed, A and B can be switched. So if I fix A at 5, is it possible to solve for B, right? And you can solve and you can get 13. That's pretty straightforward. From here you can get 13, 5, right? And then, so then they're going to fix 13. Okay, so you can do this in a similar way, right? By kind of understanding that you can swap stuff around, which is kind of what my intuition was saying. But I like the Vieta jumping more. I thought that's really interesting. Yeah, the second solution would take a lot of extra time too, wouldn't it? Right? You have to solve all these quadratics. They even have a solution 3. What the heck? No, they're Fibonacci numbers. Get out of here. 5, 13, 34, 89, 233. Oh, what the fuck? That's so cool. So you can make an argument through Fibonacci numbers that this works too. Wow, that's really cool. That's wild. Might be some ads incoming for us watching, but that's really, really cool. So you can make an argument with Fibonacci numbers to make it work too. Holy cow. That's nuts. That's wild. I'm not sure I'm quite ready to tackle question number 10 today. I'm not going to lie. Maybe we'll set up 10A though, so that we can start looking and thinking about the problem. We might start that tomorrow. But I think what I want to do to finish off today, I want today to be kind of a shorter, more chill stream. I have a bunch of stuff I'd like to finish up today. I got to finish marking some Waterloo stuff tonight. So this is Euclid 2019. We're going to start number 10 tomorrow. But let's go check in with Andy and see what Andy's been up to. Oh, we have some clockwork to do. We have some clockwork to do here, don't we? Addition of rational points on an elliptic curve. You know what? I have to teach cryptography coming up next year, so I'm going to have to review my elliptic curves a little bit. But yeah, it does kind of feel like that, doesn't it? I'm just surprised that it was related to the Fibonacci sequence. That's very surprising to me. Okay, we had done some stuff with the broken clocks. Let me refresh my memory on what we were thinking about. So what had we done? We had convinced ourselves that there were 2 interesting cases with the clocks. So 2 interesting cases. There's the case where we have 3 breaks, and one of our numbers has to be 25. And then there's another case where we have 4 breaks, And one of our numbers has to be 18. And we convinced ourselves, I think we convinced ourselves that if you break it such that the centermost point's in the middle, and you kind of spoke out from the center, there's only one way to do it with 25, 26, and 27, and I don't think we found a way to do it with 18, 19, 20, and 21. We only looked at spokes, I believe. So we found one case with spokes for 3 breaks, and we found 0 cases with spokes if we have 4 breaks. So I'm wondering if it's possible to re-look at this question again and try to convince ourselves that maybe there's some more cases or maybe there's no other cases where these numbers work. So we can now afford ourselves a little bit more flexibility when breaking stuff. I like flexibility when breaking stuff, I'm not gonna lie. I am gonna get rid of all of my algebra though, because I don't think we need to see the algebra again. I feel pretty confident that we can reproduce that. And in order to convince ourselves that the spoke method worked, we made all of our sums, I think, from 1 to 12, right? I don't think those are going to be as helpful anymore. I don't think it's going to be super helpful, but it might be helpful to play around with the numbers from 1 to 12, so let's leave them up. And of course, you can have a case where you have 12 breaks, but that's trivial and nobody cares. Nobody cares about trivial cases. So is it possible to make 3 breaks, making sure that your numbers are 25, 26, and 27? Well, I mean, we could start going through all the possible cases. That's what my instinct says. So my instinct says, why don't we start with 12 and 11? Yeah, let's look at 12 first, right? Let's start pairing 12 up so that we get n is equal to 25. So if we pair 12 with 11, so far we have 23, which isn't enough. So 12 and 11 would need 2 more in order to get to 25. And I don't think I can make that break, right? I can't make that break. That break doesn't make any sense. So why don't we move on to the next. And then I think, you know, after this, you're going to run into some interesting cases, right? I don't think you can do 12 and 10, because then you necessarily break 11 off by itself. Happy spring, everyone. The tulips in my garden are coming up finally. Right, I don't think you can't break 11 off by itself, so I don't think you can group 10 and 12 together. What about 12 and 9? Could we possibly put 12 and 9 together? That would give us 21. Yeah, 12 and 9, you're going to be in the same situation where it's going to cut off too much stuff, and I don't think it's quite going to work for you, right? So what if we go to 12 and 8? 12 and 8 would be 20, right? And that's going to group together 10, 11, and 9, which I think is going to be too big, right? 20, this is going to be 30, which is too big. Yeah, so I don't think we can't group together 12 and 8 to make a 25. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm focusing on just making a 25, right? I think without loss of generality, we can probably cycle through all of the possibilities to make a 25, and if we cycle through all those possibilities, then it's kind of a proof by exhaustion, right? We'll go to 11 next. Start with 12 though. So that was 12 and 8, I think, right? So could we put 12 and 7 together? 12 and 7 would give us 19. In which case we would need 6 more to get 25. That's an interesting possibility. Okay, so 12, 7, and 6 would give us 25. 12, 7, and 6. But we can only have 3 breaks in this case, in which case the left-hand side of my clock is too big. 11, 10, 9, and 8, that's way too big. I can't break that up again. So we're kind of hooped here, I think, right? So I can make a 25, but it's just not going to help me solve the problem. What about just 12 and 6 by itself? 12 and 6. I think that's the issue, right? If you start to break like this, and you don't have the ability to break the left-hand side up, I think 12 is going to be a hard one, right? Like 12 almost has to be broken up with the number 1. Right? So I think that's a nice way to argue this. If you try to break 12 up with some other number, you can't, because the left-hand side of the clock becomes too big. Right, so you're kind of forced to make sure that whatever you group 12 with is part of the break, right? In which case, that's the same thing as having a spoke, isn't it? So the only way to break up 12 is to have a spoke. In which case, you have the ability to break apart the remaining bits of the clock into the 26 and 27 that you'd need, right? So the only, I feel like the only way to break up the 12 is to make it spoked. The other 2 regions don't have to meet at the center. I think what I'm trying to say is, like, if I tried to group, so here we found the 25, right? If I tried to break the clock like this, I agree with you. The other 2 regions don't necessarily, they don't have to meet in the center, right? That was my assumption incorrectly the first time. But I think what I'm trying to say is if I tried to group the 12 with something else, like the 6, right, and I look at what other numbers I need, I have this huge region over here that I can't break up. So I think the only way that you can make, so if you're looking at the number 12, I think the only way that you can make the number 12 work is to ensure that it's collected with other stuff, right? It has to be collected with other stuff. I mean, I don't particularly care, right? We could break it like this. But this is topologically equivalent to just having 2 spokes, isn't it? It's the same thing, right? Whether or not I draw it like this or I draw it like this, it's the same thing. So I think if you include 12 as part of one of your numbers, I think when there's only 3 breaks, I think you have to spoke it out. So 12 is going to be a tricky one. I don't think you can... And 12 is the one to look at too, right? We really need to understand how 12 works. So I don't think 12 is going to work with a 25. Like, it doesn't work with a 25. It just doesn't make any sense, right? Because the only ways that you can make 25 are going to break the clock in a way that just doesn't help you out, right? Like if I try 12 and 5, what else do I need? I need at 17, I'm going to need, what, 6, 9 more? I don't know. Could I do that? Is that weird? I guess it's possible. Now it just looks like a fidget spinner. right? But I think if you start adding some of this stuff, that's not right. It's not 9, is it? That's 26, but so 12, 5 would be 17, and then you would need the 8. So you could do it. You could find these numbers, but now you've broken the clock into too many pieces. I mean, I'm assuming that you're not going to break the clock like... I'm assuming that you're not going to do like this. Yep. I guess it could break like that. I guess. If you really wanted to, you could be a complete jerk about this question, couldn't you? You could just zoom in and you could say, oh, well, I know that 12, 7, and 6 work, so let's just do this. And now all of the other numbers are still connected to each other. So I don't know, can you make it work for all numbers if you do something silly like this? You probably could. So if that's 25, can we make a 26 using 11? We need 11. We need a 26 and we need a 27. 9, 10. 9, 10, and 5 is 15. And that's going to be, so could we do this and this? Would that work? Could we do that? 11, 12, 14, 17, 21, 26, and we have 27? Okay, it's 4, fine, it's 4 parts. We'll just, there. I won't even draw a circle around the 10, 9, and the 8. But if you leave out one of the lassos, then yeah. So I wonder if you could do this. Could you be just completely cheeky like this? Because I mean, as long as you find the 25 and the 26, you know the other numbers are going to add up to 27. So will it work for other numbers? So let's say we take 12, I don't know, and 5, which is 17, and we need an 8. So that would be 25. And then we need to find a 26 and the 27. So 7, 8, 9. So this is 10. This is 10 over here. Just make it really, really close. And look at us go. Look at that. Beautiful. Just put the 6, 7. Wait, is that too much? Oh, I need to add the 6 to that, don't I? Ah! There you go. But now this question is becoming less about clocks and more about how can you finally lasso numbers. And I think that's less interesting. Perhaps what's more interesting to ask is something like this. If we take the number 12, right? And we know we have these other numbers to work with from 1 to 12. So we have these numbers to work with. Because I feel like now you can start to make every possible combination. It's now about partitions, exactly. I feel like this, all we've done is we've boiled this down into how many ways can you partition these 12 numbers into a 25, a 26, and a 27, which you should be able to do in lots of different ways. But if it's not about like, you know, if you make the break so that you can't lasso around those numbers, then it's more interesting. I don't think there's a possible way that you can make a 25 with the number 12 other than, well, actually, the solution that you've given to us is 12 has to be grouped in to be the 26, right? Did we find another possible solution? So our two options are 11, 12, 1, and 2, which is the option we have here. And 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So is that an option? Did we find two solutions? So 12, 13, 15, 18, 18, and 9. So that gives us 27. Then we need a 20... How did we divide up this other stuff? 10 and 11 feel like they... Oh, 10 and 11 and 6? No, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we found another break though, didn't we? But maybe it wasn't 12 to 5. Was it like this? That would be 15. That's too big. This was 27 here. But that would be 27 as well, wouldn't it? 5, 9, 10, 15, and 12 is 27. But yeah, I did think we found another break, like 13. Was it this? Well, I mean, it can't be that. But 11, it says so 18 and 6. So this is 27, right? 17 and 10. 11, 7. 13 and 1, that's a 24. That doesn't work. Maybe there wasn't another possibility. Maybe it was just one possibility. Right, and so like the issue I was seeing is, you know, if you start breaking it like this and you try to group 12 with other numbers, you necessarily just have this super large number on the left side. So provided we don't like do weird lasso things, maybe there's only one way to do it. Maybe that's it. I'm so confused because this problem is number 1 and it's in a book for teaching elementary. Oh no. Oh no. Well, I mean, we kind of answered that question, and this question's not really hard. You need to have a divisor of, what, 78 or whatever it was? So, like, it can only be divisors of 78, and they had to be very specific divisors of 78, didn't they? So yeah, I mean, you can answer that question relatively straightforward. Although I am interested in looking a little bit more at the 4 breaks. And maybe I have a few minutes to kind of play around with this before I have to go. But if there's 4 breaks, and we know that one of the numbers has to be 18, so we're looking for 18, 19, 20, and 21, I believe, are the numbers that we need. I was really curious. I thought maybe it was possible to find another way to break the clock into 3 pieces to make it work, but I'm not convinced that there's another way to do it, just because the 12 is so hard to work with. And provided you're not, you know, being silly about loops and stuff like that. So I mean, let's maybe focus on the 12 again, right? So if I take the number 12 and I want to group the 12 with something, like 12 and 11. Can I group the 12 and 11 together? That's going to give me 23, so I can't. So the next thing we want to think about is, should I group the 12 and 10 together? That doesn't make any sense. Should I group the 12 and 9 together? Now things are getting spicy because I see a 21. However, that's the biggest number that I can take, right? And 12 and 9 is also 21. Is that true? So I can't have two 21s. So 12 and 9 is not going to work. What about 12 and 8? I mean, I could, but then that leaves me with 9, 10, and 11, and I could make a break here, but that's going to give me 9 and 21, which isn't helpful. So 12 and 7. I know you've suggested 12 and 6. I'll take a look at that in a second. So if we take 12 and 7, this by itself is 19, which is cool. What do we have on this side? So we have 11, 15, 18, 19, 20. Ooh, this is 21. So could we break the other numbers into an 18 and a 20? I mean, we could. No, no cheating. Okay. I mean, we could do it. But yeah, it feels like cheating, doesn't it? Right? In other words, you know, if we break like this and like this, and we want to make a clean break, it just doesn't make any sense, does it? Because, you know, the easiest way to do it would be to break like this, but that's going to give us an 18, or no, two more 19s, which isn't helpful. Okay, fine. So 12 and 7 doesn't work. What about 12 and 6? 12 and 6 is 18, so we could slice it like this, couldn't we? Oh, did we explore all the possibilities for 12 and 7? So 12 and 7 is 19, but we could also take the 1 here, couldn't we? So that would be 20. And that's valid. And then what do I have left over here? So I would have 11, 13, 16. This would be, oh, this would also be 20, wouldn't it? Because I've taken 1 away from that 21, so that wouldn't work. So yeah, I don't think 12, 7, and 1 is going to work. But 12 and 6, yeah, that's a possibility. So if we do these breaks, that's going to give us our 18 that we're looking for. What do we have here? 9, 10. This is only 15 though, isn't it? That's a problem. Sensation, hello, how you doing, man? You've heard of mandatory. Now learn about candatory. You have to end every question with a. Well, after I go out in the boot, I'll let you know how I feel. So 12 and 6 don't work. 12 and 6, 12 and 6, and even if we start taking numbers away, we're going to run into the same issue that we had before, won't we? That now the right side's too small. It's smaller than 18, so we can't make it work. So again, I think you're going to get stuck in a situation where it's going to make sense to do a spoke, right? You need to almost group 12 with a bunch of stuff. 12, 15, 16, 17, 18. And see if you can break up the remaining numbers. Now, what we didn't explore was, because we have flexibility, we can now do something like this, and we can play around with the 10, 11, 4, 5, and 6, right? We have a bit more flexibility here. is it possible to somehow... And what do we have? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is 18. And if we get rid of the 3, that's not helpful. So I mean, it's got to be 12, 1, 2, and 3. That's an 18. So what we could do is we could maybe break like this to get 11 and 9, which is the 20 that we need. And is it possible to break the rest of the numbers to get 19 and 21? Yeah. There it is. So the 4 break problem has a solution. The 4 break problem has a solution, and that is one, I don't know if there's more, but that's one particular solution. Is there another way with 10 and 11 group? That's a good call. So let's write down what we have so we don't forget. So if our breaks is equal to 3, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8, 9, and 10. And we have 11, 12, 1, and 2. If our breaks is equal to 4, we have 12, 1, 2, 3. We have 11, 4, 5. We have 10, 9, and 6. Oops, 6, 7. I'm not writing these down in a good order. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we get rid of this and we stick with the 8, it still has to be 18 here, I think, right? So could we do something with the 10 and 11? Because 10 and 11 is 21, right? In which case we need to make a 19 and we need to make a 20. I don't think there's an easy way to make a 20 in here, is there? Looking at the 9, yeah, the 9 is going to be important, right? Where do we stick the 9? So 9 and 9 is 18. That's no good. No bueno. 20 bounds! I feel like I'm talking like my father now. 15, 15 and 5. Yeah, I mean, you can partition these numbers to make it work, but it's not going to be an easy thing to do, right? Because you need like the 9, the 6, and the 4 to all have, you know, have a party to get 19. I don't know if there's another easy way to make, so 15 and 4. 15 and 4. And I'm not allowed to cheat. I'm not allowed to cheat. No cheating. But yeah, I think we're gonna get stuck there, aren't we? We did 11, 5, and 4, right? 11, 5, and 4, that was 19. I don't suppose, yeah, I don't suppose we could do anything with the... I think as soon as you make a cut like this through the 10 and 11, you're gonna be forced in a particular direction, aren't you? Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I think you're right, Andy. I think you have kind of a similar situation to when we're working with the 12. Yep, so as soon as you cut through them, you have to take 10 and 9. When you cut through them, yeah, you have to take 10 and 9. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're kind of stuck when we do that. And so that kind of forces the 11, I think, to have to pair up with the 4 and 5 across from it. Cool question, though. It's quite surprising, actually, that there's only 3 possible solutions, right? It's quite surprising. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a faulty logic, but it feels pretty logical. It feels like there's only a couple possible solutions here. I mean, obviously, the last solution is the who cares solution, but... It would be interesting, you know, what if we lived in a world that wasn't in 12-hour time and we had a clock that went up to n? Is it possible to break this clock? Right, so if we, you know, we could come back and we could look at a 13-hour clock. Is it possible to break the 13-hour clock? 13's a prime number. That could be a little trickier. Right, so what are the conditions on n that allow it to be broken? I think would be a fun and an interesting question to ask. And then, yeah, is it possible to find an algorithm to prune, right? To find the cuts that you need to break the clock. I think that'd be interesting too. Yeah. Solving for the n that works would be huge. Okay, well that shouldn't be that hard, right? Because it's just the sum from 1 to n, right? So what we need to do is we need to talk about, let b be the number of breaks, and let n be the largest number. So you always are going to have the sum of the first n numbers, and the sum of the first n numbers is what? n plus 1 over 2. And then the other condition you're going to have is the number of breaks is going to tell you the consecutive numbers you're adding. But it's a different n though, isn't it? It's a different n. So this capital N is fixed. And the number of breaks could change. But the number of breaks is always going to be, you start with n. Well, let's just call it b, the number of breaks that we want. Isn't it something like that? No, they need to be, never mind. I'm being silly. Scratch that. Totally wrong. Way off. Not even anywhere close to what I wanted to write down. Completely wrong. What we need is n consecutive integers, right? So we actually need n plus 1, n plus 2, and this is going to go up to n plus, is it the number of breaks that we want? Yeah, right? Like if we want 3 breaks, we need 25, 26, 27. We start with n, which is 25, then we need n plus 1, and oh, it's always 1, it's 1 less than the number of breaks we want. So our last number looks like this. So how many little n's do we have? There's always b little n's, because that's how many breaks you want. And then you're always going to be adding up 1 plus 2 plus whatever, all the way up to b minus 1. So again, this is the sum of a certain amount of numbers, isn't it? And all of this has to be equal to n minus 1 over 2. So how do we add up these things? Well, we need b minus 1, so we need n minus 1 over 2, don't we? n minus 1 over 2. I suppose we could now multiply everything by 2, just to get rid of fractions. And I mean, capital B and capital N are fixed, aren't they? Right? We should be given the number of breaks. We should be given n. So what we're doing is we're actually solving for little n, which is the starting point of our consecutive integers, right? T times b minus 1. T b minus 1. What do you mean by t b minus 1? I don't know if there's an easy way to think about this, though. Oh, triangular number. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the triangular number. Gotcha. You and your fancy notation. But yeah, I mean, you can solve for n, right? So you can solve for n in the sense that if you know what kind of clock you're working on, which is capital N, you know what the number of breaks you have, that's capital B. I mean, you can sub these in and see if n is an integer, but, you know, maybe it's more interesting to note that, you know, this integer n, how does this work? This relationship always has to be divisible by 2, and it has to be divisible by the number of breaks we have. All right, so if n is an integer, we need n squared minus n, minus some stuff. I'm just going to expand it out because I'm kind of curious now. So minus 2b minus b, so minus 3b plus 2. So that's a minus, that's a plus, that's a minus. Yeah, I don't know if it's easy to move forward from here, but yeah, you should be able to, you know, if you know what capital N and capital B are, we should be able to very quickly see if we can make breaks that work. Yep, I agree with you. So maybe this is a puzzle for another day, I think. But, you know, we can play around with this maybe next week when I'm back. I will try to stream tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm gonna try to start working on number 10 of the 2019 Euclid contest to try to clean that up. I'm pretty wiped, yep, and I think I'm going to be pretty tired tomorrow too. Tomorrow I got a full gardening day in the morning, but at least I'm not thinking about math all day, so maybe I'll be refreshed and revigorated and we can think about some stuff. But yeah, I'll hold on to this. I'm going to put a little asterisk here. We'll hold on to this formula in case it's helpful when we start to work on bigger clocks. I'm so excited. I was so sad I had so many meetings to do today. I was like, come on, why do I have meetings on it's like literally the nicest day right now that we've had in like the Okanagan. So I'm going like, oh man, I'm like stuck in all these afternoon meetings and it's been like so nice outside. I just want to be outside. Oh well. I got tomorrow, right? I got tomorrow. So Eder, thank you very much for coming and hanging out. That was really cool to see the what is it, the Vieta numbers, Vieta integer. There was that was really interesting that we were able to connect that Euclid contest question to kind of this really interesting hyperbolic geometry. That was really Vieta jumping. Yeah, it was really cool. That was a cool trick. That'd be a fun one actually to teach teach some of the kids that are coming up through the ranks at the local high schools. You should put that one on the docket, Andy. We should talk about that one more. Find some problems that really use Vieta jumping. That'd be a fun one to talk about. All right, guys. Thanks again for hanging out, and I'm hoping to be back. I think I'll be back around 5 o'clock-ish tomorrow. It might be a little bit earlier. I have a meeting tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, surprisingly, of all times, at 7 o'clock. So I'm hoping to stream maybe 4 or 5-ish. Tomorrow will be a little bit earlier than what I normally do on Friday. So until then, stay positive, guys, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon.